student loan debt and that kind of thing. We can be a part of helping each other find the resources in ourselves and share them with each other to prevent a lot of the stuff that's coming at us and wanting to destroy us. One last thing. It is absolutely critical, and we're doing this in Philadelphia, it is absolutely critical that every last voting place that you're involved with is completely legally staffed. If you need to have Republicans on your team, in your voting booth, in order for it to be legal in your state, in your city, in your county, get them there. If it's necessary for you to have a writ from a court in order to serve on your election board, in order for that to be a legal spot, get that writ from a court before it happens. We are about to see the Justice Department attempt to resurrect Roy Cohn from the crypt with torts coming at us backwards, forwards, and sideways. And if we don't watch out, people who are currently going to be on even primary boards, they're going to collect evidence such that we'll have to face $250,000 fines, time in jail, potential loss of the right to vote, because we are not, we're ethically doing it. But if it's last minute and it's helter skelter, we are at risk for our whole states losing the right to vote.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, there's no more out-of-state people that I see on the line. So New York people, I want y'all to be quick like everybody else. Don't get bougie. Y'all be nice. Step up. Tell us your name, where you're from, and briefly, what's on your mind?
Blessed are the brief. All right. My name is Maurice. I'm from Brooklyn. And before I say what's on my mind, I just want to thank Reverend Al for bringing all of these people here together, right? All of these people in this room are God's people. So I want to say something from the good book. Now, the good book says that sometimes you have to put on your full armor of God so that you can stand firm against the schemes of the devil, right? Now, all of these great panelists that we heard from today have been doing, or not today, that we've heard from during the course of this convention, have been helping you guys put on that spiritual armor of God, right? Like we heard from Kamala, we heard from Buttigieg, we heard from Lawrence, we heard from Morning Joe, a whole bunch of great speakers who told you about this administration in different ways to help you prepare, right? Now, when we're battling against this administration, we're not battling a battle against flesh and blood. This is a battle against principalities. This is a battle against authoritarianism. This is a battle against wickedness in high places. Now, what do you mean by that, Mo? I mean, we have the kind of president, right, that in a second decides to wage a war that none of us asked for and use $85 billion of our taxpayer monies to do that. All to hide from the fact that his name is in the Epstein files more than Jesus' name is in the Bible. Wickedness in high places. I'm talking about, we got the kind of president that takes SNAP benefits away from hungry mothers and their children so that he can give tax breaks to him and his rich buddies that are also in the Epstein files. I'm talking about wickedness in high places. I'm talking about, we have the kind of president that press a button and drop a missile, 2 missiles, on an all-girls school and kill 160-something little girls. Then hold a press conference to pray, I'm not even making this up, so that his missiles can kill more innocent people, right? It got so bad that he got a rebuke from the Pope, the actual Pope. We're talking about wickedness in high places. So people here at NAN, it is time to put on that spiritual armor of God so that we can guide ourselves against the spirit of this person in office, right? We need to go out, we need to vote, we need to stand strong like we did back in the 60s. And we need to take back our House. And we need to take back our Senate, right? And then once we do, we make this lame duck president have no more power, okay? No justice, no peace.
That's it. That's it. That's it. Got to ordain Maurice now. He done became a preacher. My Lord. Step up. My God. Now, I let Maurice go a little too long. So now I got to get everybody else short. Now I'm going to get in trouble. You see? Step up. Tell us your name, where you're from, and briefly, what's on your mind?
Good morning, Nan. Good morning. This is Dr. Jesse Fields, Harlem community doctor. This is, yes, a great convention. Thank you to Reverend Al Sharpton. Thank you to the National Action Network. We're going higher and higher. We keep climbing. If we can bring together all the communities and activists represented here at this convention, we can change America and the world. The Black community is here. And I must say, as part of the L in the LGBTQ and plus, and that community is here also. I'm very thankful to be here. According to the Gallup polling, in answer to the question, in politics as of today, do you consider yourself a Republican, a Democrat, or an independent? I'm a Black independent. A record high 45% of US adults identify as political independents in 2026. And in 2026, over 20% of New York City voters are registered as unaffiliated independent voters, totaling over 1 million people, with nearly half of them under age 40. They are Black, young voters, Latino, Asian. They ought to have the right, the full voting rights, to vote in all elections, including in primary elections. Reverend Al Sharpton led marches in Bensonhurst after Yusuf Hawkins was killed. We are still marching. This day is the 58th anniversary of 1 week after Dr. King's assassination, when the US Congress passed and President Johnson signed into law the Fair Housing Act, which Dr. King had been fighting for. Dr. King and Reverend Jesse Jackson led the freedom movement in Chicago. As NAND continues to march, we continue to march. Congratulations, Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton. Congratulations, National Action Network, on 35 years of leadership and activism. Thank you.
Thank you. Step up, tell us your name, where you're from, and briefly, what's on your mind?
Minister Sandra, out of the Bronx in New York. I thank God for the panel, the people that have been coming up here. I thank God for Dr. Reverend Al Sharpton for opening up this. People are waking up. People are looking at things and seeing that it's being wrong against us as Black people. And I thank God for being here. You know, we gotta wake up, we gotta stick together. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Step up, tell us your name, where you're from, and briefly, what is on your mind?
Good morning, everyone, for this is the day that the Lord has made, and I shall rejoice and be glad in it. Giving honor to God, who is the head of my life, to Reverend Dr. Sharpton, to my pastor, Peter Barnaday. I'm from Brooklyn, and I have a word here to encourage King Cory. It was something you mentioned on the panel, and I just wanted to encourage you today that we don't know the pain that you went through and all that you endured for the person that let you down. But I'm here to just encourage you that we have to learn to forgive. We have to forgive. In order for God to forgive us, we have to forgive those that hurt us. And I just wanted to say also, as close as you get to God in prayer, ask God to heal you. Ask him to heal you so you can be healed from your hurt, healed from your pain, okay? Because who the Son has set free is free indeed. I know it was rightfully done to you the time that you served, that you should not have been there. But know that God was even there with you through all the years that you spent there. God was still there with you, and he brought you out for a time like this to give him the glory. It was all for God's glory through it all. So be encouraged. God bless you.
Step up, tell us your name, where you're from, and briefly, what is on your mind?
Assalamu alaikum. I am Malika Khadija Shabazz from Left Rock City, Queens. And what's on my mind is this upcoming election. And I want to say to all of you that it's best for you to go to vote.newyork City to check your status and to check your polling site. Don't wait till the last minute. From my personal experience, when I was the president of the Left Rock City Tennis Association, I'm currently the board of director. I'm currently the executive board of director, and I had to sue the Board of Elections to get our poll sites back on our district, back in our community. We are over 6,000 plus residents. We are over 14,000, we're over 6,000 voters and over 14 plus thousand residents. So I just want to say to anyone who's listening, I can only speak to New York City, to make sure that you check your registration status, make sure you check your polling site, go to vote.newyorkcity and check. Start with your family, go in those clubs, start in those grocery stores, wherever you are. Ask people, have you checked your voter site? Have you checked your voter status? I greet you as I receive you in peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you so much. Step up, tell us your name, where you're from, and briefly, what is on your mind.
My name is Tony. People know this is Tony. That Tony. Okay. I'm from the Bronx originally, and what's on my mind is that we request and create and demand that anybody that's a politician, they have to take a relationship IQ test. Because they're over there worried about being in control, but they don't know that they should be taking care of the people around them because they don't understand relationships. Another thing is they're focusing on winning all the time, and they don't know the difference between winning and success. Winning is I win, everybody else lose. Success is I win, everybody wins. And if you look at family, you look at sports, you see that the whole league is successful, even though nobody wins the championship or won. So I request that we find a way to have politicians take a relationship IQ test, and we need to create one first, but we need them to be able to understand relationships, otherwise we all in trouble, and I'm complete.
Thank you. Step up, tell us your name, where you're from, and briefly, what is on your mind.
First of all, I want to give thanks to the Lord God of Abraham that I'm still alive. In 2024, I'm my advocate, ZMT Bay. We was on the road going down to the Bronx because I left my phone with at my daughter's house. And I don't know what to call these people. I won't even call them police. They stopped us on the road because we have religious plates, and they beat us. And I'm here alive to tell it because so many of my black brothers and sisters, they shot down and killed. But the Lord allowed us to be alive to tell the story. We was in the hospital, and they wanted to keep us for 3 weeks. But the case is in court. They want to throw it out. Secondly, in 2012, Jacoby Hospital killed my brother. And the case is still going on, which they want to throw it out as well. Right now is an appellate court in Albany. And black people need to come to court.
Yes.
Come to court and see what's going on with our people.
That's right.
And we fighting. I've been fighting this case since 2012. Now I'm fighting the case for us, for 2024. And my name is Diane Bichette Bay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Step up, tell us your name, where you're from, and briefly, what is on your mind.
Dawnell Jones. I'm currently residing here in the village of Harlem. The National Action Network Political Action Committee has been in the resource room for the last 3 days. We will be in there today, and we are checking the voting status as well as registering voters, and we have plenty of voter registration and information. If you can vote in New York State with a criminal conviction and others, I've been in there with Malak Shabazz. She's the youngest daughter of Dr. Betty and Malcolm X. We've been there the whole weekend. And our committee for April is National Financial Literacy Month. We've been meeting every 4th Saturday, and now we're at our temporary location at Mother Amy Zion Church. That's 140 West 137th Street in the village of Harlem. That's on Saturday, April 25th, 2026 at 11:30 a.m. immediately following our each and every Saturday rally. The purpose of our meeting this month is a discussion on economic justice, the unfinished civil rights. Peace and blessings.
Step up, tell us your name, where you're from, and briefly, what is on your mind.
Hi, my name is Diamond King. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. And I just want to say that I thank God for Reverend Al Sharpton and his family, and for this year that all of us coming together, because of the fact that when we come together every year, it's because we're charging up, we're plugging up, and they're keeping us informed with what's going on today and these days and times. And I really appreciate it. I want y'all to know that this is a time that we have to fast and pray like never before. Stick together, give our resources. You understand? Because back in the day, they got together, they shared what they had. But I just want you to know we need to fast and pray and stand with National Action Network and stand together, because together we stand, divided we fall.
Thank you very kindly. Step up, tell us your name, where you're from, and briefly, what is on your mind.
Hello, my name is Ruby Thomas. I am the coach for digital financial literacy for a company called P2G Networks. We've been out here talking, I've been talking about this for over 40 years. What we need, we always talking about financial literacy. We all need it. Everybody's been knowing it. But how many of us have actually know what we need? We haven't been keeping up with how things have changed. We've been re-educating each other to do the same thing, but that's not how the world has worked for us. So got a little tired, got a little broke, and realized that that was a reality for more than just me. Approximately 5 years ago, I turned 40-something. Don't want to say more about that. I turned some 40-something and realized, how could you be broke doing the right thing, saving, building credit, paying your bills? Well, that was because I was following a blueprint that had been given to us since my great-great-grandparents. And that's the thing we have to break. So we did. We broke some chains. We learned how this system really works and how it doesn't. So what we've been teaching is digital financial literacy, how to work tech, because that's where we are, and how to work the real financial stage, but how to do it in a practical way. And that's what we've been successful for the last 5 years in doing. So we invite you and the National Action Network to join us, because it is now going global. It is all online currently, so we can reach everybody. COVID did not hurt us, it built us. It built all of you, because you now have the skills to work technology like you never have before. So let's use this. And I ask you to all keep coming here, because this is a resource we can't be without, especially in Harlem. We'll see you guys soon. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you very kindly. Step up, tell us your name, where you're from, and briefly, what is on your mind.
Good day, everybody, and God bless everybody. My name is Sister Reverend Word. I'm 74 years old and new. I'm a National Action Network lifetime member, and I'm a Jesus Christian. Now, the reality of it is, if we say we believe in God, like we say we believe in God, we already know we got what we need to work. We've had ancestors way back that's been telling us the truth forever and ever, what we need to do, and that's unity, and use our best minds. Now, one way that's helped me get my mind corrected is a process. It's trying to be as professional as possible, which means you see your people, but your people got to deal with the professional you, whether they like it or not. Because when one deals with the professional being a civil rights activist, we cut through all the garbage. So whatever the answer is supposed to be, you handle it from National Action Network. Any of us stepping up here working, we're doing our jobs as clearly as possible. So take the answers the way they come, but know that we're on the same side. Keep that in your minds for real. There's things we got to do. We got to unify and vote. We've been here in unity since we were babies. That's why we're here now. We don't need that to be repeated over and over and over again. We got to get to work. And one way to do that is to vote and stop playing. The fact of the matter is, women got power too. Handle it. Women got power too. We have a woman up here yesterday, Kamala Harris, she got power. You men better get your acts together and understand that. We're on your side. We're on your side. God bless you and good day.
Amen. Women are on your side. And we believe in women in leadership here at the National Action Network, and you should too, because they are on your side. Step up, tell us your name, and briefly, what is on your mind?
My name is Deacon Cory Booker. What's on my mind is a personal scripture. One day, the king had called the parents in because their child had been killed on the Sabbath, and you not supposed to be here on the Sabbath. So the king had called the parents in, and he asked the parents, "Who hit your son?" His parents said, "Don't ask us, ask him. He is an advocate." So I am that young man that Jesus healed. I want the same thing that you have. I want to be treated like a person. I don't mean to go into this, but I think about a lot of my friends that people walk by and don't want them to come into this store because they're late. I am saying, where is we at in all of this? I keep thinking about if we're gonna go back to one of the days.
Thank you, Deacon Anthony, for that. Okay. Step up, briefly, we have to get going in one moment. Step up, tell us your name, and briefly, what's on your mind?
Hey, yo, as I look around this room, if you're 35 years old or younger, raise your hand. 4 people. So here's the thing. Y'all in trouble. Yesterday you had Al Green up here talking about we need a Secretary of Reconciliation, and then that's going to include what he said was reparations, which, by the way, wasn't reparations. Reparations is more than a check, but the very first thing it is a check. And come this year during the midterms and in 2028, if you don't have our check, you won't get no vote. No check, no vote. Yeah, I know that ain't what you want to hear, but that's what's happening. All of y'all in here, with all due respect, you're beautiful, but you're old. You're not talking to the youth. You don't know how to talk to the youth. You try to tell us what to do. We're not having it no more. So if you want our vote, you got to come with our paper. We're not scared of Trump. We're not scared of anybody. Biden is a racist. Trump is a racist. Kamala is a racist. And if you don't have our money, you don't get our vote. Yeah, not. Who are you? Oh, all right, yeah, so like I was saying, I'm gonna land my plane right there, but the Democrats are no better than the Republicans. No check, no vote. Y'all take care. And somebody get my man a tissue. He need a tissue.
Thank you. First, let me clarify something. There are many young people that are part of the National Action Network. I happen to be one of them. I may look old, but I'm not old. And that we have, Nan actually brought young people from out of town to the convention under the leadership of Ashley Sharpton and Reverend Cassius Rudolph from HBCUs, and went on a whole college tour. So I don't want anybody to think that we are not supportive of our young people, because Rev was a young person one day that somebody looked out for to assist. And that's what Nan is about. Rev always says he's not anybody's talent agent, but he believes in helping those that need help. Because what does the Bible says? Your gift will make room for you. Not that someone will make room for you, but what? Your gift. So let your gift shine light. All right. Now y'all come on and be brief, because we don't have... Okay, we got one more person. This is the last person. Step up. Tell us your name, where you're from, and briefly, what's on your mind?
First of all, I would like to thank God for the opportunity to be even here. And I'm grateful to be able to be here from Cleveland, Ohio, representing National Action Network with the chapter leader, Dr. Marcia McCoy. I am very grateful to have an opportunity to be before you, and I'm grateful to see each and every person in here. Amen. And let us leave from this place doing work. Okay? Let's do some work. Amen. We heard everybody. It's great. That's good. Let's do some work. Hit the ground running. All right? Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you so much. That concludes this week's segment of What's on Your Mind. Please note that the viewpoints you heard were simply the viewpoints of the contributor and do not directly reflect that of the National Action Network. You are back in the hands of our host, Nancy Crawford.
Thank you. Thank you to all that contributed to today's What's on Your Mind. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to National Action Network Live on 107.5 WBLS. Let us now receive our president and founder, the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton.
Thank you. No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
What do we want?
Justice.
What do we want?
Justice.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
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 Shake hands with the person next to you. Tell them you love them.
I love you.
All right, thank you all for being here. We have had a great convention and a great gathering. Give yourselves a big hand. And as for you that are watching on Impact TV, on live stream at www.National Action Network, on YouTube/NAN, and you that are listening at WBLS 107.5 in New York, as well as places around the country. We're happy to be with you another Saturday morning where the action is, and give a hand to our host, Sister Nancy Darlene Crawford. And all of our chapter leaders. We've had chapter leaders from all over the country. I see Larry Young. I looked for you last night. I went to the social. We've had chapter leaders from about 49 of our cities. And some people came to me last night from Mississippi. I didn't even know we had a chapter in that particular city. So I'm glad that people are here. Let me say, in terms of our report for the year, and then we're going to go on with the program. Our young people are rehearsing, getting ready for this afternoon. Is our youth day. I heard somebody talk about young people. They tell them to just stay around. They're going to see two people, two afternoon, all of the youth in there, and I don't know, but you get provocateurs, because anybody that is talking to somebody younger than them holding the mic, then you know that they paid agents. And if you're in the room, if you don't like me saying that, I'll say it again. Because you cannot get reparations without putting people in office that's going to pay them. So talk that ignorance somewhere else. No, people talking about we have been for all of our existence fighting for reparations, made every candidate pledge to it. You cannot get reparations unless you elect folk that's going to pay it. Who you going to pay yourself? So you can't at one hand say, don't vote for everybody, they racist, but I want reparations. Well, who going to pay you? So either you paid or you stupid or both. I mean, I don't see nobody standing up. I didn't see whoever it was. But yeah, okay. I was at college and the guy stood up talking about, I don't believe in all that nonviolent stuff. Y'all need to get out the way and da-da-da-da, and da-da-da-da. And all you punks, I said, hold it with the punk stuff. I said, because you got one punk out. You go to second punk, you're going to get the best nonviolent whipping you ever got in your life. Because I'm not scared of the folk we fighting. I ain't scared of the folk we fighting with, so let's be clear about that. Let me say that it is very important that we recognize our chapter leaders. I want to thank who's on the platform from National Action Network, Middle Tennessee, Cheryl Huff, Montgomery, Alabama, Derek Hampton, Jamie Bland of New Jersey Patrons, Jerome Fordham of Philadelphia, Kathleen Parks of Louisville, Kentucky, and Mayor Amico Pickett. They're all on the platform with us. National Action Network is coming out of this convention when we finish tonight, and we are going to tour this country on a voter education and preparation tour. And I am going to do that tour in conjunction with those that are in local office around the issues of, first and foremost, we need to get rid of this Congress. And I'm not talking about the Congress that's with us. I'm talking about the Congress that is legislating, led by Mike Johnson and the Republicans. We need to stand and work with the Congressional Black Caucus and with local black elected officials, and we need to stop fighting each other and fight for the people that we are there for. And the reason I get so passionate about this, that's why I wanted to correct whoever that was that's talking before I got up here. The reason I got so passionate about this is these super duper militants that divide our community is the reason why Donald Trump got elected and Kamala lost. They get enough of them to get some folks disgusted with the system, and all they need is a few to flip the election. Trump needs ignorance in order to stay in power. We need enlightenment to stand up for our community. Young, old, bold, it doesn't matter. So Nan is going on this national tour unapologetically. Why? Because black unemployment has risen under Trump. Why? Because he started his first day going after diversity, equity, and inclusion. We are an organization that was raised and trained by those that came out of the civil rights movement. My mentor, Reverend Jesse Jackson, who just passed. And they passed the baton on us. Reverend Jackson used to be every year for our convention. Coretta Scott King been here. They did theirs. Question is, are we going to do ours in our generation? Coretta Scott King and her husband, Dr. King, helped lead a movement that broke down the walls of apartheid. When they started, blacks couldn't even sit in the front of the bus. When they started, you couldn't even vote without going through all kind of voter schemes. When they started, we couldn't even use a toilet downtown in Southern America. When they finished, we had the right to vote. When they finished, we ended up taking a black preacher that never held office and made it a national holiday, and the whole country had to close down. That's what they did in their generation. Jesse and his generation moved it forward to where we had black elected officials all over the country, black mayors, 3 black governors. Now the question is, what are we going to do in our generation? They're trying to take back everything that was gained by our parents and our grandparents. We've got to be smart enough to not get in internal fighting that we lose the whole big fight that brought us this far. They are prepared to turn back the clock. Why? Because they are the children of those that never wanted to see the clock move forward in the first place. Let me tell you something. Donald Trump is the son of Fred Trump. Fred Trump and Donald Trump was cited by the Justice Department as discrimination in their real estate in the 70s. Donald Trump is cited by that in his businesses way before he became known, less known a politician. They are standing up for what they believe. Question is, will we stand up for what we believe? This is our time. That's why I said when I spoke at Reverend Jackson's funeral, they did theirs. Jesse Jackson, Jackie Jackson sent 2 sons to the U.S. Congress. When they were born, they couldn't even vote in Greenville, South Carolina, and Florida, where they were from. So the question is, rather than to condemn your elders who provided for you, the question is, what are you going to do for your children that was done for you? Your mama and daddy made sure you had a better life than they had. Trump is taking that life from you, and you too busy calling folks names rather than getting the work done and getting out here and making sure we defend and hold what we got. Now, nobody's more concerned than I am that we should be making more progress, but we got to first stop the regress. Before you go forward, you got to stop them from pushing you backward. Trump has stopped DEI. You have major corporations. You have major athletic companies now that are saying we have to end diversity. That will unemploy people. That will stop black contracts. That will stop all that we have gained. Trump and his minions in Congress, the Republicans, will not renew the Affordable Care Act. I get tired of people talking about, well, Obama didn't do nothing. Well, then why are they undoing something if there was nothing done? You can't undo nothing. Under Obama, we got the Affordable Care Act. They call it Obamacare. And they tried to confuse their own people about what it was. I was on tour, lady was on TV. Porter said to her, do you support the Affordable Care Act? Y'all look like maybe a 40s white lady. She said, yes, we need the Affordable Care Act. She said, so you support Obamacare? No, I'm not with Obamacare. They use the language of race to try to push us back. It is our job to make it plain on the ground. That's why where your chapters are is ground. When I come to your city, we go on the ground. I don't go down to the convention center. We go to the ground. Because change comes from the bottom up, not the top down. We are not, in my opinion, we are not going to go down in history well if we are the generation that lost it all. With all our ideology, with all of our hollering and screaming, this man in your face has taken your grandma's health insurance. In your face, said that he's going to charge you now to go to the park on Juneteenth and King Day. In your face. Done call you everything but the N-word in public. And you too busy jumping on the Black Caucus rather than standing up and fight those that have taken everything from you. And the reason why we fight a lot of our black leaders, because you know you can be allowed to do that. You ain't gonna do that to those whites in power. Trump come through here all the time. You ain't open your mouth to Trump. But you'll fight those that are near you, because you've been induced with self-hate. And anyone that looks like you that's trying to do something because you hate yourself, you try to beat them down. Well, I don't know about Hakeem. Hakeem come out this organization. Well, I want him to throw up his fists and yell Ungawa. Ignorance. If Hakeem Jeffries becomes, and he was here opening day, talk about is he accountable? He accountable to folks that he worked with. You just roll off the street talking about is he accountable to you. First of all, you ain't probably registered to vote. So that's why Jesse and them used to try to hold me back, because I like fighting. You want to fight, call my house, get me. I wake up in the morning looking for a fight. I get up in the morning, slap the pillow. I'm mad at the pillow. It's fighting time. And we have 3 goals this year. We must register and bring out the voters for the midterms. We must save DEI as part of what is required. If you cannot save DEI, you can't even approach reparations. If they will get rid of diversity in corporations and in schools, how you gonna ask for reparations? If they gonna take what you already got, how you gonna talk about getting more? And we're gonna deal with this question of health care. We have got to preserve and get the vote to preserve health care. Overriding all of that is we must stand up around the Voting Rights Act. We are on the precipice of the Supreme Court taking a vote that will probably take race out of Section 2, which will nullify the Voting Rights Act as it is. What does that mean, Sharpton? Well, what it means is that they will then be able to do the redistricting they want, and the 60 members in the Congressional Black Caucus go down to 30. And representation will be gone. And we will then see them dilute us, stopping mail-in voting. Reason they are stopping this is because as we gain power, that is how we put the Affordable Care Act in. That's how we put police reform in. This organization helped lead the fight around George Floyd. George Floyd family here. Y'all seen Philona's the last 2 days. That's why they with us rather than folk that use their name and didn't fight for their justice. People talk about, I don't believe in the system. Well, we fought and put those 3 cops in jail. If we had not gone to Minneapolis, they'd have let it go. We got the Obama administration sat down and formed a task force. Out of that came wearing cameras on police. They didn't have cameras mandatory on police before we did that with Obama. But we beat down who looks like us. Obama ain't done nothing. Kamala nothing. Trump's house right up the corner. You ain't walked by there and said nothing. He right up the block. Go to the corner, turn left, walk up 3 blocks. Trump Towers. Cuss all you want to cuss. We have those 4 agenda items. Let me also report that on Tuesday of this past week, the day before the opening of this convention, and we've had, I think we had the most well-attended convention that we've seen. This room here holds 2,500, and there wasn't a day that it wasn't packed all the way back, and then our other rooms having their workshops. 12,000 people registered. And coming from over, as I said, over 49 states, and our chapter leaders. When I say chapters, I'm talking about real people. These folks sitting up here that I call, these are real folks breathe. This ain't AI. Tuesday, the day before we opened the convention, one of our goals, Larry Young, we achieved. We were able to purchase a National Action Network permanent national headquarters in Harlem. We had been negotiating and talking to some and was working a deal where we was gonna have a major structure that had not been used for several years. And we worked out there was gonna be a 99-year lease with option to buy. And then as we were doing that, I got a call. To be honest, Dominique got 2 or 3 calls. And Dominique kept saying to me, George Faison, legendary, iconic choreographer, is trying to reach you. Call him back. I said, I'm busy. I'm trying to get this done. Finally, one evening, I said, let me see what George wants. And I called George Faison back. Y'all saw him at the dinner the other night. And I said, how you doing? He said, Reverend, I'm 80 years old. I'm ready to move on to do something else. He said, I'm ready to sell the firehouse, Faison Firehouse, 5 levels with a theater on 124th Street in Morningside. And I said, oh, okay. I said, I don't know. He said, I just need you to help me find somebody that'll buy it because I don't want to sell it to developers. I'm tired of seeing our community gentrified. I said, well, how much money are you looking for, George? He said, I'll ask for $8 million, but I'll take $6 million. I said, $6 million for firehouse. Well, and you got all the same stuff in there. Oh, yeah. And the firehouse has got no structural problem because it was a firehouse. And I said, well, let me see if I can find somebody. He said, I'll sell it for $8 million if they can get the financing. $1 million, I'll move out up front. I said, all right. I called Reverend Bird, our COO. I said, go over, you in Harlem, go over to the firehouse, look at it, see how it looks. And he did. Called me back. He said, sturdy, it looks good. They still got everything there. I said, okay. I called George. I said, George. He said, yeah. I said, you said you would sell it to a brother for $6 million up front? He said, yeah. I said, well, meet me. I'll give you the $1 million. Get the financing for the $5 million and let's go. I went to the people that we supported with Jay-Z's casino. And I said to them, can you help me find a bank to help mortgage it? Better still, that can carry it until Carver, our black bank, gets his paperwork. The guy said, well, no, I don't know if I can help you, but I do mortgaging myself. The other night, Mark Holiday. They said, we'll give you the bridge loan. I said, George, meet us, and we gave him and paid in full the $6 million. So you talking about free the land. I went and bought the land and made sure that it's in our community. My friend, we grew up together. Congressman Greg Meeks is here. Greg Meeks will tell you that long years ago, for you out of town don't know, they used to call me in New York ambulance chaser. Well, tell them now the ambulance chaser bought a firehouse to have his ambulance. I got a place to park my ambulance. Why do I go through all this? Because I'm going to be transparent. So everybody understand. And first of all, these young folks that's growing up in Nan, one of them will take Nan. You do not buy a headquarters if you intended to just fleece people and keep going. The fact that I wanted to buy something meant that I want Nan to be permanent and be here long after I'm gone. We could have kept renting if this was about Al Sharpton. This is about your child and your grandchild and my grandchild. I want my great-grandson. I can't walk him down the street, Greg Meeks, and say that is Marcus Garvey's building. I can tell him the Garvey story. I can't tell him where other great folks in Harlem that were activists left their building. But I want him to be able to say to his grandchild, this is where Al Sharpton and that generation did not just no justice, no peace. We did great work. Gazembe Bass is here. We did great work at the slave theater, didn't we? But they took it down, building condos there. We need to build structures that they can't take down. We need to stand up with the blood of the ancestors that built pyramids and Sphinx and declare who we are. That's why we're also unapologetically a spiritual movement. That's why we don't preach hate. We work with everybody. And we want everybody to work with us. I was glad that many people from different races came to the convention, because we can't win this battle by ourselves. We're going to need everybody to help turn this Trump situation around. They need to understand, in the rural white communities, they suffer more from the Affordable Care Act not being renewed than we do. Diversity hurts white women as much as it do us. And as long as they can have us fight each other, they stay in power. But if we're smart enough to stand together, I don't lose my blackness working with whites. And if you're afraid to work with whites, it means you have an inferiority complex. I can work with anybody and still be who I am, because I know who I am. You got to be so secure that you can go anywhere and be around anybody and not lose yourself. Any woman got to keep her husband home so he won't look at another woman. You better as well leave him anyhow. You got to lock your husband in the room. Y'all ain't married. He's a prisoner. It's a spiritual thing. That's why I read the Bible full of activism. People talk about, sometimes when I go to preach, Reverend Patterson and those of you in the ministry will know what I'm getting ready to say. Rudolph is in the back. Many times you hear them say, well, you know, Reverend Al, we're glad to have you, but we don't want you to, you know, stay away from all that politics and civil rights. You know, just kind of, you know, just stay in the Word. I said, all right, that's fair. I said, now, what Bible you got? Because the Bible I got, the second book of the Bible was Exodus, was a slave rebellion. Israelites taken out of Egypt, out of bondage. So that's a civil rights movement. David became king, that's politics. Solomon became king, that's politics. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego rebelled against Nebuchadnezzar, that's civil rights. Daniel in the lion's den, the Belshazzar, civil rights. What Bible you got, doctor? I don't have the Negro version. Give me your version. If you're afraid to stand up and preach the word, sit down and shut up and let somebody that's not scared stand up and spread the word. The same God that can tell Daniel to stand up to Belshazzar, to tell the three Hebrew boys to stand up to Nebuchadnezzar, the same God that would have his son stand up to the Roman Empire that led to his crucifixion, that same God is still on the throne. I won't bow to Trump. I won't bend to Trump. I'm going to stand up until righteousness flows like a river and freedom like a mighty stream. If my people, I'm not talking to everybody, if my people, this don't go for all of you that doubt this, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and pray and pray and turn from their wicked ways, then, right then, you will hear from heaven. I will heal the land. I will heal the land. I will heal the land. Everybody's singing it. Everybody's singing. Sing it like you mean it. Sing it like you mean it. We want justice. We want freedom. Everybody's singing. One last time, y'all. One last time, y'all. Everybody's singing. Yeah. All right. While we are still on the air, we have 3 more of our elected that may run for president. We've had 4 or 5 already, and we are going today to do 3 more. That's why this is an organization that believes that people should come forth in front of those that are organizers, because everybody here is a delegate, is an organizer from your city. And we know who they are early. If you can't come to us early, don't come to us late. And those that identify with us, we can identify with. And I want you to know that I am very happy to bring on this next person. Many people, we've been in existence for 35 years. The last 26 years, every cycle, Congressman, we've had the candidates come. 2000, he'll remember, I got Bradley and Gore to do the first Democratic debate at the Apollo. 4 years later, I ran. 4 years after that, Obama, Hillary, and all came to this convention. And every cycle, all the candidates came right here to this convention at the Sheraton. And so this is something we've done over a quarter of a century. And we're going to keep doing it because we want to be able to deter, especially now, with what we got in power. We can see now when our foot is not on the pedal what we get. We're in a war in Iran and don't even know why we're over there. And every day the president talking crazy. One day talking about, it's 10 days of ceasefire. The next day ain't no ceasefire. One day we gonna bring you to the Stone Ages. I mean, just kind of dangerous talk. And then get up on Easter Sunday morning and use the most profane anti-Christ language and offends the Muslim religion. We are in a dangerous situation as long as we leave that regime where it is. So one of those that has gained a lot of regard and respect for being a balanced and unafraid voice in the U.S. Senate. And he did something in all the 26 years we've been doing something that really impressed me. Is last night he came to our delegate social. I was looking around. Y'all was dressed up in the 90s outfit. And here this guy come with his military stuff on him. And I said, that guy looked like Senator Mark Kelly. They said, that is Senator Mark Kelly. And he came over, spoke, took a picture of me. He said, let me walk around. I want to talk to people. I didn't come to talk to you, take no picture. And he walked around all night. So he don't know how that much impressed me. A lot of folk come get a photo op and gone. He has been an astronaut and then a U.S. Senator. And he's fit right in with us. And you can hear somebody that wants to do what that is done as someone that shows some level of comrade. Let us welcome from the state of Arizona, U.S. Senator Mark Kelly.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Senator, thank you for being here. I was very impressed last night you came and hung out.
Well, thank you. I had to wear that jacket because that's the only thing I own from the 90s. That was all I have left.
Let me ask you before we get into policy, what made you transition from being an astronaut to being a politician?
Well, that's a good question. It's not something I ever expected I would do after 25 years in the Navy. I flew 39 combat missions in the first Gulf War. I flew 4 space flights. Between my first and second space flight, I met this state senator from Arizona named Gabby Giffords. And, you know, as many of you in this room know, that on this January 8th of 2011, I got a phone call. I was back home in Houston, Texas, and Gabby was meeting with her constituents, and she got shot in the head, nearly killed. And that changed the trajectory of both of our lives, you know, for, you know, really forever. I never expected to get into this business. You know, my wife, Gabby, was the member of Congress in our family. You know, sometimes I think if I was the person who would have been injured, would Gabby have become an astronaut? She says yes, and I would not put anything past her. But, you know, I saw what she was able to do as a state senator and then in Congress and really have an impact on people's lives. Hey, you know, I was in public service my whole career, right? 25 years. But I saw a different side of public service. I saw how you could really help people. And then what happened to me it was in 2018, the night before the election at a Get Out the Vote rally. I was just, you know, standing there watching the band playing, and a young woman comes up to me, not much older than my older kid, and she says to me, hey, my son has Down syndrome, and I'm terrified he's going to lose his health insurance. Would you please consider running for the U.S. Senate?
Wow.
So that's why I'm here.
Wow.
And it's, you know, it's for that kid. And it's for, you know, all these kids out there that need help, and all these people that need help, and often have a government that isn't providing the help.
How's Gabby doing, by the way?
Gabby is doing great. She works incredibly hard. After she was injured, about a year and a half later, we started an organization to deal with this issue of gun violence, which is just a scourge. Just communities across our country, especially young people. We have the highest, well, first of all, we have one of the highest rates of gun violence in the developed world. It's now the leading cause of death for children. I mean, how outrageous is that? So after Gabby was able to get to the point where she could travel again, and we started this organization, we started to travel around the country. We met all kinds of people. I mean, we even went up to Alaska. I mean, we traveled all across the nation. And I'll never forget this, going to this school on the west side of Chicago called Lawndale Academy. Mm-hmm. And I met with these kids, and they had this club where they provide counseling to their classmates when their dad or their brother or another family member is shot and killed. I mean, I just never heard of any such thing. I mean, these kids should be starting a STEM club not have to do this. And this became their lives. And what really struck me about it was not only that they found themselves in this situation that they, had to start this club, but that they didn't feel like there was a lot of opportunity out there for them. That despite being what I thought was actually and seems to be a pretty decent school, they felt that there wasn't much that this country had to offer. And these are smart kids, that were very impressive. So that's also the reason I'm in this job and had a total change of career. I mean, I liked my old job being an astronaut. That was a pretty good job. But you know what? If I drop the big science experiment and it floats off in space, is it really that big of a deal? What is a big deal is, you don't stop this government from doing something really bad that harms people.
Talking about doing something bad, last year you released a video with some of your colleagues who are also veterans, as you are, reminding the troops not to follow illegal orders. I mean, to this day, I don't know how it is controversial to tell troops don't follow illegal orders, and don't do anything to break the law. Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth didn't like that, and they came after you. You've worn your uniform, you've flown in combat, you've commanded missions in space. So when you hear someone like Pete Hegseth talk about demoting you or court-martialing you, how did that land with you?
Not well. Well, first of all, I said something, and Reverend, as you stated, I said what was the law. Do not follow illegal orders. It's in the Uniform Code of Military Justice. It's something people are trained on. This is not complicated. And I said this thing, and Donald Trump didn't like it. So he said, I should be hanged, executed, prosecuted. The guy couldn't even get the order right. So, then what they did is they tried to indict us, myself and 5 other colleagues. They failed. They were told to take a hike from the grand jury. And then Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, by the way, he doesn't get to change the name of the government agency. Secretary of Defense said I should be demoted. They should take away my pension. So I sued him. And so far, I'm winning in court. And I expect to win. I also don't expect these guys to give up. They're going to keep coming after me. But here's the thing. This isn't about me. This is about all of us. We all have constitutional rights. By the way, there are 2 million retired veterans, like me, whose First Amendment rights are on the line if I was to give up here. And, the way we win these fights, with this government is we show up, right? When ICE went into Minneapolis and violated the constitutional rights of thousands of citizens, going into people's homes without warrants. We have 2 dead U.S. citizens that just for being in a place. But when people showed up and went to the streets peacefully, you know what happened? ICE left. That's how we win. We don't back down. We don't give up. And we speak truth to power. So I'm going to keep fighting.
Given your military background, how do you analyze this engagement in Iran and what this country has put itself in a position to be as it relates to its NATO allies now that this president has attacked them, as it relates to those in the Middle East? Many of them were allies that are now in danger. How do you analyze this, and what do you think we need to see the next president do about this, or even this next Congress if we take the majority Democrats?
Well, let me start at the beginning. Donald Trump, he is not a strategic thinker. I mean, that's the root of this problem. I mean, you've heard, everybody heard the analogy of when somebody is playing chess, the other side and our side's playing checkers. Donald Trump isn't even playing checkers. You know those red Solo cups? He's got 2 of them, and he's moving them around the table. That ain't even checkers. This guy went into this thing, he went into this without a strategic goal that was well defined, and then he keeps moving it around without a plan, without a timeline, without an exit strategy. And because of that, we're in this situation he finds himself in now, which is, how do I get out of this? Now the strategic goal seems to be to open up the Strait of Hormuz. There is one person responsible for closing the Strait of Hormuz. It's Donald Trump. I mean, I used to go through that strait a lot in the Navy. I flew 39 combat missions in the first Gulf War, but I was over there even before that, dealing with the Iranians on this issue. What Donald Trump taught the Iranians is they now have a strategic asset that they can exploit for decades to our detriment. And then the other thing he accomplished, other than closing the Strait of Hormuz, is he alienated our allies. Not only the allies in the region, because he got into this thing without talking to them about this first, but our European allies as well. And then he rushes to them and asks them to come to our assistance. He should have talked to them up front. And now he's talking about pulling us out of NATO. You talk about something that's going to make us less safe as a country? So, Reverend, you asked, like, well, what does the next president do? You've got to build these relationships back up with our allies in the region and with NATO. And then you got to get the Iranians to the table and have a serious discussion. You can't send the 2 real estate developers to negotiate a peace with another nation. That's what we have to do.
Let's go domestic. Trump and his cabinet has done all it can to end DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And Hegseth has even dismissed some high-ranking blacks in the military, saying they were just DEI, like they had really not served the country. How do you think we should respond to that, and how do you think this Congress, if they take the majority, and the next president, if it's a Democrat, how do you repair that? What do we do about this?
Well, let me talk about what happened a little bit up front, right, and where we are going with this administration. So, as soon as Pete Hegseth became the Secretary of Defense, he fired a number of people. One of them was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General C.Q. Brown. Black man who has served his country for over 30-something years, one of the most qualified professional leaders that our military has, who was doing a fantastic job. And those terms, by the way, are supposed to be for 5 years. So he was supposed to continue to have this job. You don't get fired when the new president comes in, but they fired him. Now, that obviously, hurts him. personally, professionally. You know who it hurts much more than that? Us, our country. And it's a travesty. And, you know, we've got to fix this. Now, in the United States Senate, I'm on the Armed Services Committee, the Intelligence Committee. We're going to hold these guys accountable for these policies. Now, let me tell you why this is also horrible for our country. So I had the opportunity to be the commander of the space shuttle a couple times. So I was the pilot twice, I was the commander twice. When you're the commander, you get some say in who your other crew members are going to be. So the last thing I would want in a space shuttle crew would be 7 white guy, U.S. Navy test pilots like me. It would be a disaster. And let me tell you why. The reason it would be a disaster is because we all think the same. We all have the same experience, the same training, the same kind of background. The best option in any organization is to have people from different backgrounds, different experiences. And here's why. Because they think about problems differently. They approach things from a different baseline. And you get a much better outcome. And that was my experience on the space shuttle. I always flew with very diverse crews. Now, you see that today in what just happened over the last 10 days. So that Artemis crew came back from the moon last night. Incredibly diverse crew. The pilot of that mission is a guy named Victor Glover. Now, I met Victor for the first time in John McCain's Senate office. Victor was one of his military fellows, and John McCain was incredibly excited to introduce me to Victor Glover. This guy's a F-18 Navy test pilot, and he wants to be an astronaut. Now, I didn't have anything to do with helping him become an astronaut. But later, years later, he wound up in the astronaut office, and this guy just over the last 10 days piloted this spacecraft all the way to the moon, going faster and further than any other human in history, all the way back last night, hit the atmosphere at 35 times the speed of sound, and then safely got that Orion capsule back. That is the America that makes us better, that makes us more successful, that makes us more capable. And that's what we need in the military. We have an all-volunteer force. The best force we can possibly have is one that is diverse. That, you know, that saying, diversity is our strength? It's not just words. It is actually the reality of the situation. So we're going to have to fix this. We're going to have to get back to where we were, and then we're going to have to improve upon that.
Let me go to another issue with you. You've been pushing a ban stock trading in Congress, eliminate corporate PACs and make schedules public. That's about trust. But for a family making $40,000 a year struggling to pay rent, what's your message when Washington seems to care more about its own process than about families getting ahead?
Well, I mean, families getting ahead is the top priority. But people should be really pissed off about members of Congress that go to work every day and try to get them and their families ahead. And by the way, those people that take advantage of that position, now they have the guy who's the leader of our country, Donald Trump, who spends way too much time thinking about ballrooms and his meme coin and his stable coin and all this other stuff that's going to make him a lot richer. So now they have an example to look towards. One of the first things I did when I got to Congress is I did 3 things. I made it very clear, I'm not trading stocks. I'm going to have a public schedule so everybody knows what I'm doing. And I'm not going to take any corporate PAC money. So there are 535 members of Congress. There's one person that does all those 3 things, and that's me. So John Ossoff and I put together a bill to stop members of Congress from trading stocks. And it is really important we get this through, because you have these members are making decisions. It's not only they're learning information and they're trading on that information. They also do the other thing. They know they own this thing, so let me make decisions in Congress to make sure that I benefit. So we got to fix that. But we also have to fix the income inequality in our country that is out of control. Reverend, this is the richest our country has ever been. Like right now. Why is it that young people can't afford a place to live? People can't afford rent. They can't afford their utilities. They can't afford their health care. This administration has taken health care away from poor people to give a big giant tax cut to the wealthiest Americans, to billionaires and millionaires. That has to be fixed, because this is unsustainable. Can I tell you how we're going to fix it?
Please.
So, I mean, it's tax policy, right? I mean, the president gave a big tax cut for billionaires. He partially paid for it by taking away health care and SNAP benefits from poor people. And we've got to reverse that. So I have legislation to provide a tax cut so somebody making $40,000 a year, as you talked about, will not pay any federal income taxes. And people that make more than that, all the way up to like 6 figures, will pay a lot less. And it's not going to cost anything, because here's what we're going to do. We're going to raise the taxes on people that make more than $1 million a year. They can afford to pay more.
It feels like AI is out of control. It's moving faster than anyone can control. And that has a lot of Americans and a lot of people in our communities that our delegates here represent very nervous. How do you advocate that we can shape AI better to not lose control of it?
Well, I mean, if there's anything that keeps me up at night, it's this. Like, where's this technology going? And how is it going to affect work? How's it going to affect people's jobs? And it's moving much faster than any other change has ever happened in our workforce. When you consider the Industrial Revolution and other times we've seen rapid change, the internet, this is moving faster. So what we have to do is we have to make this about workers. And we have to make sure there is opportunity for people to get retrained. Now, there are some upsides to this technology. And by the way, I don't think we're stopping it. So we have to be able to shape it, like you say. We have to be able to shape the technology to help working people. One of the things we can do is have a robust training program like unions, like union training programs to retrain people for the jobs of the future. So I've got a plan called AI for America, which is a roadmap on how do we address this. It's got a bunch of principles and a bunch of things we're going to try to do here through legislation. Some of it we've already started. At the center of this are a few basic principles. One is that the AI companies that create the large language models, those AI companies and the data center companies and the companies that are going to benefit from this technology, they're going to have to contribute money, resources to help with the job training and building the infrastructure and also some form of enhanced unemployment insurance to help bridge the gap when somebody's got to go from a job that has been replaced to a new job. Then we got to deal with all the safety issues. So this is moving very, very fast. What I don't want to see happen is what happened with social media. I mean, social media has not been good for our country. I think we can all admit that. We got to get ahead of this, and it has to be focused on workers.
I have to ask you this. You've covered DEI. You've talked about the tax unfairness. You talked about Iran. Let me ask you about the question of moral leadership. We have historically, in every community, raised our kids to stay out of trouble and to live wholesome lives. We have now elected a man with 34 felony convictions and guilty of sexual harassment by the courts. This is not politics. And that openly uses profanity on holy holidays, and that has said by his own admission that he doesn't think he's going to heaven. About the only thing he said that.
Do we all agree?
I think that's the only thing he and I agree on. That I don't think so. I can't put him in hell, but I don't think he's gonna make heaven. How do you envision setting a new sense of morality, not religion, not sectarian, but a new moral tone to the American body politic as we practice it?
Well, I mean, the big worry that I have is if you're like a teenager today or even somebody in your early 20s, you've been watching this example of leadership, horrible example of leadership, for basically your whole life. Because kids under the age of like 10, they don't pay attention to this. But somebody between 10 and 20, right now, this has been the president that you will remember. And this is the example. And I'll tell you what, after my 25 years in the Navy, I cannot think of a military officer or an enlisted person in leadership that I've ever worked with that has such poor leadership qualities as the President of the United States. So, and I still can't figure out, and he was elected, you know, he was elected in 2024, but I still struggle with the fact that our country today elected somebody who has 34 felonies. And that we re-elected, essentially, re-elected Donald Trump. And so, I mean, what do we do now? I expect when we have a Democrat in the White House here on January 20th of 2029, it's going to be somebody with a moral and ethical compass.
Last question. Do you think about trying to be that person?
Well, so we got the election in November. I'm from Arizona, remember? Arizona. You know what's happening in Arizona right now? Kash Patel, head of the FBI, is coming for our voter data from the recount from 2020, because this president still can't accept that he lost the election in 2020. They're going down to Fulton County, Georgia. They're grabbing those ballots because he wants to be able to take this stuff and then somehow falsely, you know, accuse, again, that election from being stolen. It was not stolen from him. There were hundreds of court cases, right? So he's trying to set he's going to try to convince people that our election system is unsafe and that people are voting that shouldn't vote. That is just not true. So I'm very concerned about us getting through this election in November. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure Democrats win up and down the ballot, both House and Senate. And then, Reverend, to answer your question, once we get past that, Gabby and I will make a decision about what I'm going to do next.
All right. Arizona Governor, Arizona Senator Mark Kelly. Give him a hand.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Everything's good. Thank you. Come on. All right. Come on, give him another hand. I'm getting ready to bring on our next person. Let me bring on now another person that has entertained the national stage, and many have said from his home state that they really see great potential in him. And he changed his family outing to be with us today. And you that are watching live stream, all of you that are here as delegates, welcome to the stage. He's a leader who's made his mission to find common ground in divided times. He's the 63rd governor of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. He's proven that effective governance isn't about moving right or left, it's about moving forward. Welcome to our stage, the governor of Kentucky, Governor Andy Beshear. I think our Louisville chapter's making a lot of noise for you. Governor, thank you for coming, and I know you rearranged things to come, and we appreciate that. Let me start by asking you, give a little of your background. I remember that you and I were on Morning Joe one morning, and I told you that I heard from a member of our national board, Reverend Malone, some good things about you. Reverend Malone, for you in the other cities, is a member of our national board, pastors Canaan Church in Louisville. And he said like our chapter leader here saying he knew Governor Beshear. Tell us a little about your background, because I was amazed with some of the things you told me, your dad and all.
Yeah, first of all, it is an honor to sit on this stage with you. Hearing your speech, thank God the United States of America has you right now with everything we're going through. And so I consider this invitation an honor. I am the grandson and great-grandson of lay Baptist ministers from Western Kentucky. I've seen a picture of my great-granddad baptizing people in rivers and streams, and so we are a family of deep faith. I was raised to believe in that golden rule that says, I love my neighbor as myself, and the parable of the Good Samaritan that says that everyone is my neighbor. And so my faith informs me in everything that I do. I think about that parable, the Good Samaritan, that my grandfather preached all the time. And those were two people that looked different, thought different, prayed different, voted different. That one person laying on the side of the road in the ditch, everybody that looked like him and thought like him walked right past him. But Jesus chose someone that should have hated him, should have turned his back on him, to go over, to pick him up, to carry him to safety, and oh, by the way, to pay his health care going forward. And so that background, the way that I was raised, and then seeing my dad in public service. He served as Attorney General. He was Lieutenant Governor. He was Governor of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and he had the distinction of being able to put the Affordable Care Act into law in Kentucky. we saw 600,000 people get health care coverage that had never had it. We expanded Medicaid in a way that when I became governor and the pandemic hit, we had enough beds because of the Affordable Care Act and expanded Medicaid. And so I've been blessed to have leaders like Pastor Malone invested, calling me, offering advice, having faith leaders embraced, because that's where I come from. And so it's, again, an honor to be here today and to share this stage with you.
All right. Let's start with how you view what's going on a global basis. Iran. We don't know clearly from the sitting president why we there, how we get out, what is victory, what is not. Give us your view on this engagement that we're in and what should be done about it.
This is the first president in my lifetime that has taken our country to war. And remember, he called it a war in the very first press conference. He can't back off it now. The thing about Donald Trump is he will tell you what he's thinking at all times. But he took us to war without clear justification to the American people or to Congress. And then that justification changed 3 or 4 times in the first couple days. He obviously took us into war without a plan of what winning looks like. If his idea was regime change, he didn't know the difference between Venezuela and Iran, which means he shouldn't be president of the United States. He took us to war without looking at what would happen when the strait was closed and the impact that it would have on the American people. He went to war after promising the American people he wouldn't go into new wars, and has had more conflicts than, again, any president in my lifetime. So where we are right now is we have to get that strait open. Gas costs too much for the people of the United States. Costs were already too high. Paying that plus the mortgage plus the utility bill is simply too much for most Americans. We've got to make sure that Iran never has a nuclear weapon, and we need to make sure that their ballistic missile system has been destroyed. I think that we are on our way to a couple of those. But again, with this guy changing what he views as a win or a loss and how he somehow defines regime change as going from a guy to his son, who is probably more radicalized now than ever before, is something.
Come to domestically, you know we're a civil rights organization. This whole fight around diversity, equity, and inclusion that Donald Trump has labeled in distorted ways, and then some that have been in position has not practiced it themselves. Even some in liberal states, liberal cities, that call themselves progressive, but progressive for who? If we can't get the contracts in the black community, brown community, we can't get the jobs. They are really using a title to hand from one generation of exclusion to another. Explain to me how you would stand on DEI and how you deal with diversity as governor of Kentucky today.
It's amazing that we have a president in Donald Trump that claims that racism doesn't exist while he shows us what it looks like every single day. I've been proud as governor to veto every anti-DEI bill that's come across my desk, and I've done it in a Trump plus 31 state. When I look at the way I govern, I believe that diversity is a strength and never a weakness, that we are better off having more voices at the table. And listen, I recognize that I will never be able to feel the pain of racism. I'll never be able to bear the scars of a history of slavery and Jim Crow, redlining, all of those difficulties that have been thrust on so many Americans. But I can listen, and I can try to hear. I can make sure I'm surrounded by leaders who have felt what it feels like, and then we can work to find those solutions together. In Kentucky, we have been intentional. We've been intentional at making sure that jobs come to areas that haven't seen enough jobs. West Louisville is our largest African-American community. We have now landed about 1,000 new jobs in that community in the last 6 years, and we recently built the first hospital in that community in 150 years. In its first year, it saw 60,000 patients. 60,000 people didn't have to go 40 minutes or take 2 buses. They were able to see a doctor in their own backyards. Kids were going to be healthier. Seniors were going to be healthier. It's the only pharmacy in a number of different blocks. What we've tried to do with some of the new businesses we've landed is incentivize hiring folks from the 8 neighborhoods around to make sure that people aren't just driving into our African-American communities, but that people are being hired from within them. Then the last thing I'd say is we try to create good jobs for everybody, knowing that lifts everyone up. Since I've become governor, we've had the first, second, third, and fifth best years for economic development, and our average wage for a new job last year was $30 an hour in Kentucky.
What about black businesses? Because one of the problems I have, we need jobs, but we also need to be able to be entrepreneurs. And one of the things that I find when I talk about progressives is that some of the most progressive unions in the country don't invest with blacks, their pension funds. So the fact is, Governor, there's a union in New York, big liberal New York, that over 72% of their members are black and brown. I went in a couple years ago to ask them Melanie, can we talk to your pension fund board? Because none of our major investors in the black community was investing any of the money. They said, well, we'll try to work it out. Found out the pension board of this union, progressive, 72% black and brown, pension board all white. And they were loaning money to developers. So, in effect, grandma was financing her own gentrification. And we didn't ask for 10%. If you just gave 5% of the pension fund investment to black, they could hire a lot of our people and train our kids how to do finances right here in Wall Street. Are you open to that kind of situation?
No, I'm absolutely open to it. What we see in Kentucky right now is what we see across the rest of the country. We've got state legislators passing laws to try to make it harder to lift people up, that try to kick people while they're down, that try to prevent the private sector from embracing diversity if the private sector wants to. The Republican Party used to be the party of the private sector and said that government shouldn't be intruding. But now, if you think a DEI policy is good for your company, they're going to come after you. If you think an ESG policy is good for your company, they're going to come after you. My supermajority, not so supermajority in my legislature, recently passed a law on proxies that was opposed by the National Methodists that said we want to be able to invest our money in our retirement system in a way that fits our faith. And they wanted to make sure that if environmental issues or diversity issues were involved, that they couldn't do it. So it's a time that we have to push back, but yes, I want to make sure in the Commonwealth of Kentucky we use all our funds to lift people up.
Voting. Voting is clearly under attack in this administration. They have tried to do the redistricting and in some areas have been successful. We're waiting every day to see if the Supreme Court is going to take race out of the Voting Rights Act, which would totally eradicate the impact of that. Where do you stand on voting rights and on this erosion of the voting rights bill led by this president?
On my third day in office as Kentucky's governor, I signed a bill that restored the voting rights of 200,000 Kentuckians that can now participate in our great democracy. There was a gentleman who came at that signing that had lost his right to vote at 18 before he'd ever cast a ballot.
Wow.
He had twin 6-year-olds that he brought with him that day because they had never been able to see him to vote. He broke down that day. I handed him the pen I signed it with. 4 years later, he sent me a picture of having gone in and voted for me for re-election with that pen. I'll never forget that. I'm absolutely against anything that makes it harder to vote. Democracy ought to embrace making it easier to vote while making sure it's safe, but our elections are safe. Our elections are valid. And so you will see me veto a bill in Kentucky this session that makes it harder to vote. But let me go one step further. You've got a lot of great folks who have come through here. And in 2028, we will need a Democratic president. And one of the first things they should do is to sign an executive order that protects voting rights for the people of the United States of America.
As governor of Kentucky, you've had to deal with criminal justice reform. And as you know, this organization was involved, as others, with the Breonna Taylor case and other cases, George Floyd's families here and others. How do you, at one point, you have to protect and support law enforcement. We're not anti-law enforcement, but at the same time, not let law enforcement break the laws or abuse people. How do you see that nationally? Because it's hard to discuss criminal justice reform with criminals. We have a president that's a convicted criminal. No, he is. He's a convicted, I'm not being facetious, he's a convicted criminal. But how would you see the balance? Yeah. Because I think that if the Democrats are going to be successful, they're going to have to be balanced. And I think that I'm not looking for anybody to say and do what I do, but I'm looking for them to be open to what we say so we can strike a balance that protects all in this country. How would you view criminal justice reform?
In Kentucky, we lost Breonna Taylor far too young. She should still be with us today, and we should be willing to look at anything and everything as we sign Breonna's law, which limits no-knock warrants in the Commonwealth. More confident in law enforcement, and most of the time it helps law enforcement. Most of the time it helps law enforcement too. Get body cameras because we needed them, but what the organization safer if they're responding to a domestic situation, what we've seen is that we need law enforcement making the changes, making the effort to come together, Democrat or Republican. It's not left or right. It's something left or right. It's something that every like ICE. So I was the top law enforcement organization, federal, state, or local. Act like. Thinking they can do it with an administrative warrant. They can't. The fact that they have an and those that oversee them immediately brand anyone we do a thorough investigation of. Every single one's taken in front of a way we can build confidence is to have the right type of training, and to follow. So when I became governor, we found out very early that there's also some anti-Semitic material within them. We'd make them apart. We'd ask them to review the material that I can. And so our goal is to make sure that we have every
education. We are seeing a move around the country by and eliminate other things like government deal with the education, not only in diversity, but finance rather than exclusionary and unaffordable.
Your public school is typically the only school. You have an on public education that they're blaming public education when single 4-year-old across the Commonwealth. They don't have as many vocabulary words. They might not know their vocabulary words. They might not know their colors. I talked to So they're blaming public education when half the kids walk through the door. Not stop defunding our public schools. Let's stop sending money. Every single child has true opportunity, which I think is a world-class education. They have that real shot at life. I mean, my son is here. My son is here with me today. And the idea that we were able to provide. We've got to make sure that we've got the policies in place where no one is behind when they are.
One of the things that, and you heard me say it in my been renewed, and it's not even being discussed. Because just cram things down every day. Every day. Yeah.
Hospitals are about to close. And he's flooding the zone. See the country having because they got to take the blame here too. This Republican cut for the wealthiest of Americans, but refused to pass one of the greatest inequalities. But look at what this administration is doing. And rural health care. In Kentucky, it threatens to close 35, and 200,000 people will lose their coverage. That doesn't. Largest payroll in their county.
Wow.
And so if they shut down, so does the insurance agency. This is a punch in the face of rural. 26 with everything we've got, because it's what's the straw that breaks the camel's back in any area. It might be your auto. And have to drive an hour and a half to give birth. Areas of our country, the hardest. But you know what? I'm still against human right that every single American, regardless of their party.
Let me talk politics and we let you go. The 8 presidential elections is critical we cannot have a polarized politics, because it will. I know that someone who has a very good relationship with. In fact, he and I kind of came along. And Greg Meeks, when we started this organization, and watched it build nationally. He's looking for people that'll be balanced. I am and lose, and not have to enact, legislate, and you've been able in a state that goes red sometimes. Stated today, and our chapter leaders and others believe in you. Elected governor and re-elected, and then transfer that advice.
American leader. We need to make sure he leads that important committee. I'm probably the only guest that you've had up here that's won 3 straight. Were tougher, and let me say, you've heard the bills I vetoed. You've heard the bills I vetoed. I stand. I think has helped me out. First is I spend 80% of my time thinking about their job and whether they can afford the things they need. They're thinking about their kids off at and whether they feel safe in their community. When we The second thing I try to do, Reverend, is talk like a normal human being. How some of this speak has crept into the Democratic Party. As hard as anybody, but maybe West Virginia. We've all lost people. I lost them all to addiction. If we want to push back against this, it's got to be that they'll go hungry. We got to communicate to people. But the last thing I try to do is to get beyond the what, into the. But we need to talk about our why. My why is my good to each other, not bad to each other. The parable of the Good Samaritan says, unless in there, no exclusions and no asterisks. In 2023, I'm running for re-election, and they passed the most anyways, because it was the right thing to do. But when I did it, children are children of God, and I don't want people picking on those kids. And was going to attack these kids. I wanted their governor to know that he cares. Talk like a normal human being and actually share and actually share in this world. Anybody, I'm not. I will tell you, I walked off. I walked off the stage in, which is like winning by 30 anywhere else. And I looked at my, and I'm not sure that's true today. I'm not sure that's true today. Else's kids or grandkids. Up in, and I admit the United States of America hasn't been perfect. What we are seeing right now, a president that threatens to end.
As we wrap this up, you've not made a decision. It's not an announcement, but it is saying
running this year is the Democratic Governors Association, and I hope everybody, Speaker of the House, and take back the House of Representatives. This country, but if you care about 28, if you want to run in more than in Des Moines, which we have to do, it's about flipping the governor's mansion. It's about flipping the governor's mansion in Iowa. Which is govern well, but are going to help us win that. Presidency. What I can to protect and restore and improve this country. Well, good. I said it several times that you're a practicing Christian and prayerful man. Every day I get up, wake up, and before I go to the gym, to work out, I him when he tells you what to do. All right. Am I gonna make a recommendation? That's between me and God. All right. Hear from our civil rights leaders measure the movement. Get ready, because I got one speaker before I let the offering in. And you that want to pledge to help the building, we've got to pay the building. We've got to pay $1 or more, or pledge that. But let me before we raise, since its inception, a man that has and he broke his schedule to be with us today. Brother, the United States Senator from
Booker.
All right, I am pleased. I need to come. I wanted to come. This is home to me. This is home to me. Because we know the truth of NAND. It was founded, and it was founded with this mission that we are the hero. Ark can bend, but we gotta bend it. He found it. He founded it in the tradition of Jesse Jackson, that we are looking for that pot of gold. We are here under the understanding that our community Douglas said power concedes nothing without a demand. Without a demand. My Reverend Pastor Jefferson, New Jersey's leader. I know y'all across the river. It's a great place. The river. It's a great place called New Jersey. Urgency. This organization turns anger into action and organizes. I want to tell you a true story. About distributing food and clothing and sanitary needs. Rev and his advice, and we became in our church community the coalition. I'm driving along in my SUV as a storm is coming in. One more sweep, and the two officers driving me, trying to see through the windshield that was being of the city, and I get this phone call. That's the question. The person said, "Hello, it's the White House. Hello, it's the White House operator." There's no to that question. And I want you all to know I miss Obama. Miss Obama. And touched by him. He knows the storm is hitting our region. And he's calling him, and the phone rings again as if these two people planned it. I had just gotten a governor of my state at the time, Chris Christie. Now listen, and he's doing the same thing. He's calling to check on me and the biggest city. And at the top of the hill, I can see at the peak. I don't see anything. And I'm wondering what he's doing out there. And then I get a little closer and behind him, I see all the trees had come falling down. Pull down all the wires, and we pulled up next. And we pulled up next to him. We were an elderly man holding this big light. What are you doing out here? And then this man looks at me. This man points over to the shattered wood. I just talked to the President of the United States of America. I talked, but I will never forget that the greatness I best saw exhibited that holding up a light in the night so that other people won't get hurt. The story of Nan. That's the story of how we got. That's the story of how we got here. We didn't get suffrage because a whole bunch of people. No. Every movement in America has always happened because of groups like this that organize forward over the resistance often in Washington. We have to stay focused. We have to stay focused on the now. Housing, home ownership is worse than it was back in the 90s. Women are dying 3 times the rate of white women when they're giving birth. What do you have to lose? We know now it's jobs. We have to understand that this is the moment. I also know that faith without works is dead. Now, this organization has made 35 of power, but this next stretch is perhaps whose blood, sweat, and tears got us here. We have young people in this room who must outdream. We must, in a chorus of conviction, know our history. And I want to end history because it's both inspirational and instructive. And I want to take you to the 1860s, and there was a ship. The Union Army had pulled their boats back because that shallow water they couldn't navigate. There was a man named Robert Smalls. He was enslaved. Opportunity and not be prepared. And so he studied that captain, how he. And one night, all of the white people on that boat, the captain and others, the families of the enslaved onto the boat into the hull. He put on the cap. Every fortification he went to, he did the signals perfect. He gets to Fort Sumter, the big fort with the mighty cannon. For the Union lines. And before they realize what happened, he's at even toward the Union lines, and the Union ships are now preparing to fire on. Confederate flag, Robert Smalls throws up a sheet, and at the last second, moment if you can. This ship coming out of the dark, coming out of the dark, pulling up aside. Those men see a ship full of black men. And Robert Small, and he walks to the side of the ship. The captain of the ship, the captain of the onboard is staring. And his wife comes out of the hull of the ship. Holding their daughter, and says to the daughter, that flag right there. Flag right there. This addicts to Barack Obama. Black people have been a part of this nation. We've redeemed the soul of our country time and suffrage rights. We have fought in every major battle. It is our power that has made this nation who it is. It never was America to me, but I swear this oath. It's got a dream with its back against the wall to save the dream for land where our mothers and fathers died. Land inside, let freedom ring. We are ring. We will stand to our feet and with the conviction. Freedom ring. This is our nation. Under God.
Wait a minute, Senator, let's do a selfie.
We're going to turn around, and you all got to make a lot of noise. You got to be as loud. All right, hold on 1 second. Rev, we are at the 35th anniversary ever.
Absolutely.
Thank you for
We're not by ourselves.
We are not. All right. 35 years still going.
Cory Booker, give him a hand. All right. All right, but we gonna raise our. Somebody said Central Ward. All right. Raise our regular offering this morning, and y'all know I don't want them having 911 when I check out. The country, and y'all did not come to New York broke. Don't tell me that y'all ain't got no money. Y'all come here buying all this stuff up and down Times Square. How we do, y'all are. All right, who's ever helping to hold? I need first, I got a lot of people here from our different chapters, and I know some of them have seen Reverend Toon, but I need a lot of you from around the country. Don't embarrass me. We're going to raise a lot of money and pledges on the building. Y'all know I've been talking all 35 years. Reverend Jackson was my, stand over there. Act like you in church. We're raising an offering. Reverend Jackson was my mentor, and I would always say, I don't want to be ashamed in front of him raising money. So I look out here now, Jesse Jr.'s in the house. Stand up, Jesse Jackson Jr. So don't shame me in front of Jesse Jackson Jr. I need about 25 people that can give $100 or more to stand up and come quickly. At least 25. Come on, come on, come on. Don't make me beg. Give me your name as your Reverend Toulis from Los Angeles, $100. Give me your name. Dr. Chairman Richardson, $100. Bishop Taylor, $100. Mike Garner, $100. Reverend, who is that? I can't see with these lights, man. Reverend Porter, $100. Syracuse, $100. Reverend Hughes, $100. Guardians, $100. John, $100. Larry Young from Baltimore, $100. Visitors from Queens, $100. Building fund. Darrell Roberts, $500 for the building fund. Ricky Thompson, $100. Rodney James, $100. Head of Greater Cleveland Chapter of National Action Network. National Action Network, $100. Chapter National Action Network, $100. Don't count off the roll. He peeling off the roll. He peeling off the roll. Just drop. Dial from the Bronx. Dial from the Bronx. Dahlia from the Bronx, $100. DeWitt and Cromedy family, $500. Annette Wright out of Detroit, $100. She live right near the building fund. Near the building. Herbert Douglas from Florida, $100. Janita Dow from Chicago, $100. Martise Chisholm, chapter leader in Tennessee. Marcia McCoy, head of Greater. Where you sitting up there with that? Where you sitting up there with that $1,000? Gave me no money.